Gun to my head, what is the best show on TV right now?
Better Call Saul!
You already know I'm coming out alive. I'm picking Better Call Saul, guys. I've stopped denying it. I'm coming to the realization that Better Call Saul is a masterpiece. And not just a masterpiece, the best show on TV right now. I'm not going to go as far to say this show trumps Breaking Bad because I don't think these shows need to be compared. That's another topic for another day. Today we're not as much going to be talking about why Better Call Saul is just such a good show to begin with. More how the show works and why it does. How did this show necessarily succeed in the shadow of Breaking Bad, just this giant shadow of the best show on earth? I mean, how did a story about a lawyer's floundering career trying to start and his relationships and everything with his friends and his brother, how did this show grow to be such a big deal? And when I say it's not better than Breaking Bad, it's really not that far off. If you haven't seen Better Call Saul, that's not a big deal. I'll still explain the story for everybody, and I'll throw a couple of my thoughts in with this as well.
I was in your arms. Yeah. Thinking I belong there.
Better Call Saul is a story about Jimmy McGill, or as we come to know him as Saul Goodman later in the show, and also in the Breaking Bad universe in general. You see, Jimmy McGill has always wanted to be a lawyer, and his career isn't exactly going as planned. You see, he is a public defense lawyer, and he does his best. He just keeps messing up. Oh, and he also has to take care of his brother who has a crazy disorder because he can't be next to electricity very long. When he's not in the courtroom defending these no-lifes, he's usually out in the parking garage, sharing a cigarette with somebody. I can't even begin to explain how disgusting this looks. But basically, Jimmy McGill always keeps messing up. No matter what he does, he always tries to cut corners and tries to do things his way, and it just never seems to work out in his favor. And he doesn't exactly have the approval of his brother on his side either, or most of his friends, or really any of his colleagues either. You see, Jimmy isn't really respected by others, and yeah, everyone kind of knows he's a screw-up. But nonetheless, Jimmy tries to prove everybody wrong by becoming the best lawyer he possibly can. Not as much becoming the best lawyer he possibly can, more being a lawyer on his own terms, and becoming what he wants to be. It took me a while to watch Better Call Saul. I was a little bit Breaking Bad and out, you see. And maybe that sounds like impossible to some of you guys, but I was. And whenever I would try to start Better Call Saul, I was always just met with this slow-paced show that I was not feeling. And it's not that the show's slow pacing is bad, because the slow pacing I actually found out is amazing. And I love it. I love everything it does to help develop the characters and everything. But at first, oh my god. But it moves slow with a purpose, though, and that's what I like. If you have a show just moving slow pacing for absolutely no reason, I'm not watching that. But because this mainly has Breaking Bad, which is already an S-tier plus show, I kind of had to give Better Call Saul a chance. But in short, I love the show. It's got 6 seasons. I mean, this show's awesome. It's like, what, 60 plus episodes, I think. It's amazing.
I figured it made sense.
Okay, but enough about the story and if I like it or not, because you guys don't care. You can keep it honest with me. What I want to talk about more is why this story works and how this show succeeded in the shadow of Breaking Bad. Number 1, the main character. Obviously, the main character, Saul Goodman, is incredible. Now, in Breaking Bad, he was also very enjoyable to the viewer, but what this show, Better Call Saul, does is that it picked a great character for this. Because Saul is not very deeply explored in his character and everything, in his backstory and all that in the Breaking Bad show. He's more just there as a comic relief / I'll get anybody out of whatever situation that they're in. I mean, that's essentially all he does in Breaking Bad. I mean, I love him, though. But yeah, his character isn't really too deeply explored, which is why it's really good that they picked him for a show, and not somebody maybe like perhaps Jesse before he met Walt, or maybe somebody like Hank that already gets quite a bit of screen time in Breaking Bad. Now, I've come to love the character Saul Goodman even more, because when I started Breaking Bad, he wasn't exactly one of my favorites. I mean, yeah, he's Saul, everyone likes him, but you know what I mean. He wasn't exactly up there with, like, Jesse and Hank. I mean, my boy Hank. But the way that this show really explores how Jimmy McGill can go to Saul Goodman very quickly, and just the difference between these two characters. One, a very good moral person who wants to help everybody, cut corners at the same time, but, you know, Jimmy McGill, everyone loves. Saul Goodman, the criminals love this guy because he's going to get you out of your situation wherever you're at. Whether the morals are pretty, you know, it's pretty a gray area there when it comes to Saul Goodman's morals. But I just love how much they go into Jimmy's character, and he's honestly my favorite. One of my favorites has come out of this entire universe. Another reason why this show works so well, it's side characters. The side characters in Better Call Saul are purely incredible. You see, Breaking Bad does a good job with its side characters, but Better Call Saul takes that to another level. You see, Breaking Bad's got good side characters, and I'm sorry guys, I don't mean to compare the shows too much, it's just so hard not to. Better Call Saul can have you talking about side characters that are in the show for such a minuscule amount of time, and you'll love them. An example of this is like the Russian guy who has their entire arc with the construction of Gustavo Fring's lab in season 4, and even though he's not in the show for a very long time, you still like him. Another example is Nacho. I mean, Nacho's a character everybody likes, and when he was first introduced, you're like, oh, I mean, hey, he's cool, but, you know, and now season 6 and everyone loves this guy. I just love how this show was not afraid to make its own side characters and run with it, because I think that's one of the things that it could have fallen into, and that's what I'm actually going to get into next. The nostalgia factor when it comes to bringing back old characters is very tempting to go back to, especially with such a loved show like Breaking Bad. You see, with just such a giant shadow of this show, how could you not want to bring back some of the characters? And Better Call Saul does this, but they really pace themselves well. You see, we don't see any of these big-name characters like Gustavo Fring or the Salamancas very much until about mid-season 3, and way more into that, of course. Season 4 and 5, 6 have a lot of them. But they really build on their own characters like Chuck, Howard, Kim, Nacho. They build on all these characters that were not previously in Breaking Bad, and they make them so you like them, and then they mix them in well with the characters that have already been introduced in Breaking Bad. And this is such a good thing, because if they were relying purely on a nostalgia factor of, oh, guys, did you see Hector Salamanca and Hagar in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul? I mean, yeah, it's cool, but, I mean, your show just relies on old characters. I mean,
Thinking I'd be strong there.
essentially, this show takes all of the things that were in Breaking Bad that we all loved that weren't previously explored too much, like the cartel business, all of the lawyering business with Saul. Very interesting stuff, but was never explored too much in Breaking Bad because it's about Walter. The show just picks and chooses what it wants to do, and they do it extremely well. And that's why it's grown to be the best show on television currently. Another thing I'd like to hit on in this show is that it has Huel. It has more Huel Babineau than we have ever seen in our entire lives. Thanks everyone for sticking around to the end of the video. I appreciate everyone you guys who watches these. I mean, I hope everyone has a good rest of their night. Depends on when I'm uploading this. And if you haven't already seen Better Call Saul, I mean, man, please go catch up on this. We're shaping up for an incredible season 6 finish. So just do yourself a favor and just turn on your Netflix and go watch this. Or your AMC Plus, depending on what season you're on. Man, AMC Plus, please move this thing to Netflix as soon as possible.